Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Welcome back to the show. We are now joined by Susan Corvo. She's the president of her own company, Susan Corvo Redesign, LLC, from Fairfield, Connecticut. Welcome our friend Susan to the show. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. And how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much. We're in the same kind of region here in a little bit of the cold chill in New York and Connecticut, right?
It is, but tomorrow should be a little warmer.
You're so good. Absolutely. Well, it's a pleasure to meet you, get to know you. For those that don't know, SusanCorvo.com. That's her website, SusanCorvo.com. Check her out. Susan, some beautiful work you do. Would you mind introducing yourself to our listeners today?
Great, thank you. So I am an interior designer and decorator and believe that everybody should love coming home, and a beautiful home should be affordable on any budget. I do everything from kitchens and bathrooms to paint color selections to just helping you with furniture selections and kind of putting your house together so that you can say, I love coming home each and every day.
Beautiful. And I love the website, Reimagine Your World. You can check out some of the pictures and videos on there because you could see a lot of the beautiful work you've done. My goodness, there's so much to you. By the way, just a quick question. Are you on social media as well?
I am on social media. Yes, I am. Both Facebook and Instagram.
Perfect. Perfect. And it's under your handle of your name, Susan Corvo?
Yes, it is.
Perfect.
Susan Corvo Redesign.
Wonderful. Well, it's exciting to have you here. I know you're based out of Fairfield, Connecticut, but you have clients all over, right?
I have clients all over. I think COVID has actually changed our business so that I've done quite a few things remotely over the past 2 years.
Beautiful. Great. So anything from, well, basically it's end-to-end interior design, right? Decorating, remodeling. And you mentioned balancing function and beauty. And that's something today I know we wanted to discuss and get into specifically in regards to your work. Let's see. Where are we going to start today? You want to talk about the moving process and what that entails about moving into a new home?
Sure. Since everybody seems to be moving in the past 2 years, some people are upsizing and some people are downsizing. And you kind of have two different brain sets for that. Because if you're downsizing, you really want to think about what you want to bring. You want to go through everything in your house and say, is it bringing me peace, joy, and happiness? Do I want to bring it with me or do I not? Because you don't want to get into a situation where you move and you've downsized and all of a sudden you're stuck with all this stuff and you're like, it doesn't even fit, and you're just overwhelmed. So I always say to people, when you're thinking of downsizing, think about house that you're buying. You'll know what that is. Think about how you're going to function in each room, what you really want to bring with you, what you love, what you can't part with, and what it's going to look like before.
And the big part of that process is getting rid of things that you don't need now.
Pardon me?
I'm sorry. You cut out. I said you got to also focus on getting rid of the things you don't need now in your current home.
You do. I mean, we don't need, you go through your kitchen and you might have 4 peelers. I'm like, you don't need 4 peelers.
I have about 20 coffee cups. Why? It's just, it's memorabilia. But do I ever use them? No, I use the same coffee cup every single day.
Yep. We just have so much excess. And I tell people, go through. If you don't like it and you're not using it for years, get rid of it. You can sell it on Facebook. You can donate it to Goodwill. If you don't even want to make the trip, you can call junk luggers. They'll pick everything up for you and then give you a donation receipt. It's so easy. So I would say to them, you don't need to lug it with you. And it's very freeing when you start getting rid of these things. I mean, people have so many bath towels. How many do you use?
Exactly.
So, you through it. Yeah. And say, okay, you're going to wash them anyways. So
I also have a 4 and 6-year-old, so I have a lot of extra toys I need to get rid of and donate as well.
Yep. And it's very different. I would say to people, I have a yearly ritual. I go through my closets, my drawers, every January. As I put the Christmas decorations away, I start going through and saying, did I use this? Do I need it? And I clean everything out and keep it organized because otherwise it gets overwhelming. If you've ever had to move, you know what it feels like. It's like, oh, my God, how am I going to pack this stuff?
Oh, yeah, and it's not an easy task at all. So let me also talk about moving into that new home. How do you actually, plan the home layout in a sense?
So, if you're whether you're upsizing or downsizing, when you're upsizing, you might be moving from an 800 square foot apartment from New York into a home, and you're like, I have nothing. So what I always tell people is think about the house. And granted, a typical colonial has, a living room and a dining room. Well, maybe you don't need a formal dining room. Don't think it has to be your formal dining room. If you have younger kids and you need a playroom, then that becomes the playroom.
That is exactly what I have. I have no dining room table. It's full of toys and soft mats. So I do not have a dining room, and I laugh about it all the time. And it's great to hear a professional like yourself, Susan, say, it's okay.
It is okay. For the first, 8 years of their life, at that point, then they get older, the toys, But for the first 5 to 8 years, have it a playroom. Because otherwise your house feels inundated with toys everywhere else, especially if you have, say you have just a family room and you have a kitchen and then like a dining, but there's no other family room or a living room. I even, with my niece, her living room was a huge front-to-back living room. We made it a complete playroom. She's like, I have a big open family room, kitchen, dining. That's fine. That is off on its own. She can lock them in there with the baby gates, and we put down the Noah's Ark flooring with the rubber floor, and they live in there. And that, she said, it just made my life so that there weren't toys everywhere and that they were safe. Because in a dining room, you usually can block it off. You can actually put baby gates up and know that it's kind of a big playpen and you can keep everything in there and not worry that, it's a mess. It's just, it's going to be a mess. Once in a while, you'll clean it up. Maybe you'll go through toys and start getting rid of them. But you need your house to be functional, especially for how you live. You need to know how you live in the house. Do you need a mud room? Where are you going to drop stuff? The biggest complaint I get from most young moms is, I need a mudroom. This coming in and dropping everything in the middle of my kitchen floor is killing me.
Yep.
I'm sure you experienced that.
I just finally got coat hangers. I haven't had coat hangers in this house in 5 years. So now there's a place to put their backpacks and their jack instead of just throwing them, because I just am a little slow at these things. So you are so spot on, Susan Corvo, for sure. All right, let's continue. It's hard to start, but some people have to redo, but they don't know. How do you decorate? And I know you mentioned you could do it on a budget. There's so much to what you have to offer today. So I'll let you continue. Go ahead.
Well, so when you're thinking about your room, think about what it's going to function. Your first floor should always flow with color and tone. All of it should kind of flow. The upstairs bedrooms, they can be different colors for the kids, but your first floor really should flow. So decide on your colors. And the biggest mistake people make is they start buying pieces, but those pieces don't go together. So I always say to them, have a plan. So before you be spontaneous and say, oh, my God, I have to have that. Well, you might have to have it, but what else is it going to go with? Because the biggest thing that happens is people call me in when they've all of a sudden purchased 5 different things, but nothing goes together, and now they're frustrated. And so I always say, do one room at a time. Live in your house. If you're moving in, use what you have and live in it for 6 months to really get a feel for it. Yeah, and to understand what you want to do and how you want to do it, and make a plan instead of being impulsive. Those impulsive buys cost people money, and impulsive painting costs people money because they'll put the paint color up and forget that it looks different from day to night, and then they hate it. So I always say sometimes it's great to call in a decorator or designer to say, hey, just, and not all do this, but I do. I'll go in and give you an idea of, hey, let's from room to room, here's a design guide. Let's talk about from the foyer to the living room, family room, kitchen, dining, what it all needs to look like, and put a plan together so that they can just do it on their own a little by little. They don't have to do it all at once.
Got it. Very true. And that could be so overwhelming. And you mentioned a good thing about contacting someone like yourself, because you have the expertise, you have the know-how, and you can really end up saving people money in the long run as well. That's what sometimes people don't understand about interior designers. I honestly think, they get a little intimidated. Like, no, it ends up saving you money. I'm sure you could, digress on this as well.
Well, it does. So people because I also do redesign. So I'm an interior designer that believes that my job is to help you figure out what your style is and put your stamp on it. Very different from any others, but I don't believe I don't want to put my stamp. My style is my style. It's not your style. So I do a lot of questioning. We talk about what pictures they kind of like, so I can educate them to say, okay, this is your style. This is what you want. So I do that home guide because I believe everyone should love their home, and I don't think it should have to be unaffordable for people. I can put a guide together for you for a reasonable amount, room by room, to tell you this is what to do, so then they can kind of go do it. And I really love the education process because it's an aha moment for homeowners when they say, oh, now I understand. I'm like, you can go to Walmart and get your pillows. It just has to be the right color and the right size.
And that's it.
You
You're
know,
also
it
going to
doesn't
give them
have to-
options of places to go to find these products that they may need, correct?
Right.
Great.
Absolutely. I mean, most people are shopping online these days, and even Facebook, like Marketplace or even Goodwill. I mean, you can get some great things if you're willing to search for them.
Got it. Wow. And then also, you mentioned, a lot of people, it's hard to get rid of the old belongings. How do you incorporate the new into the old?
So I believe there are pieces that we treasure. I have my grandmother's old sewing cabinet, and I treasured it. It was brown. Of course, kids these days don't like anything brown. So I'm always saying, let's repaint it. Let's repurpose it. I took it and I painted it and I kind of gilded it with some gold to make it look kind of funky and modern. So I really believe that there's pieces you've been given that you might treasure, but you're like, I don't know how they fit in. Well, maybe it's repainting them. Maybe it's fitting them in because you can mix and match some older stuff with some newer stuff. It really doesn't matter. Woods can mix, colors can mix in that respect. And I always say to people, don't just throw it out. I mean, first of all, some of the stuff you get today isn't solid wood. The pieces that we've had for years and years that you find at consignment shops, like the dressers, I mean, they're solid. Coat of paint, and it's a whole new dresser. And there's so many things you can do with pieces to mix and match and have things that you treasure because you've been given it as an heirloom. And I think we're getting back to that point. I see more and more people saying, oh, my grandmother gave me this. I love it. I'm like, great, let's use it.
Got it. Absolutely. That's great to know. So we can incorporate the old with the new as well. And, do all your spaces have to kind of go? Or, how does it work with tones and fabrics and floors and, carpeting? And now there's these, everyone wants hardwood floors, but then they're getting these beautiful rugs to cover the floors.
Well, so you always start with your flooring and you start with your color of your flooring. A lot of people, the dark phase of having that dark walnut floor, I think is going by the wayside a little bit because it shows every scratch you can ever imagine. And then they're like, oh my God, I did these beautiful floors and like now I have a dog and he scratched the whole thing. So now I'm seeing a lot of people go with that pale white oak, more Danish looking floor, which doesn't show all the scratches. Yes, but you're going to put some type of a carpet on because you want to have something for your furniture to feel like it's sitting on. Like a carpet really is, you don't see all of it, but yet it's there to kind of put all that furniture together and make it feel like it's a conversation area. So it kind of plants everything. It's the base.
Got it.
And then when you think about it, you start with your flooring. If you're buying a very high-end carpet, you start with your carpeting first. You can pick any paint. I can make you any paint color under the sun. So we start with flooring. We have to think about the lighting in the room. Lighting comes from natural light, comes from recessed lighting, comes from sconces, comes from lamps. If you've got small children, I steer away from any type of a lamp, even a floor lamp, because they're just going to be on the floor. Let's keep it so that it's safe and easy, no cords. But then you kind of move up. So you sort of get your carpeting first. Then you go to your furnishings and pick out a sofa and some chairs. Then we pick the paint color for your wall because I can make any color you need. And then you think of window treatment. So when you're thinking of fabrics, whether it's a shade or then you want to do something more formal with a fabric, all of those fabrics have to all be picked out together so that they go. When you do it separately and wait 3 or 4 years, it's hard to match the fabrics because they come and go. And that color comes and goes. Everything has a fade. Now green is back in, and yellow's making a resurgence. And so, gray's going out. So, if you're going to do the room, at least do one room at a time and finish that one room before you move on to the next one.
Got it. Would you want to share some other common mistakes that homeowners do make?
Yeah, they tend to buy separate pieces because they love them. And then they don't know how to put it all together, or they look at someone else's home and they think, oh, yeah, that's going to look great at mine. But, they'll pick a paint and the paint doesn't work. The paint doesn't work because your lighting isn't the same as their lighting. Or they just can't put it all together. My biggest thing is, so your focal point in your room is not your TV. I mean, I know it's got to be there, but it's not the TV. It could be the fireplace or the windows, but, and husbands get mad at me. They're like, what do you mean? The TV is the best part. I'm like, okay, it's going to be there, and we'll face the furniture towards it, but it's not the focal point. Nobody wants to see that ugly thing. But it's funny because then people take their furniture. I'm like, no, it's all in the wrong place. First of all, it's, either too crammed together or it's, way back where it needs to be pushed up. The first thing I do when I walk to a house is I'm like, wait, furniture's wrong. because I can see that visually, like, nope, this needs to be moved up, that chair needs to be there, because it's not facing a focal point, or because it's not, it's in a pathway. Like, you should have to have a way to get in to sit at your couch and to walk around, and you don't want to like walk into the back of a couch all the time. You may have part of it, and you'll put a console table, but if you're entering the room from one direction, it should be open to enter into the couch. So it's an opening, a good feng shui feeling.
Got it. Wow, beautifully said.
Yeah.
All right, Susan, we got to take a quick commercial break here. Would you mind sharing the best form and all forms of contact for you? And then we'll take that break.
Yes, so you can, the best way to contact me is go to my website, www.susancorvo.com, and contact me through the website, or you can always make a phone call, 203-536-0712.
Perfect. We'll be right back after the break.
Hey, welcome to Everything Outdoors. Can I help you find anything?
Hey, yeah. Can you point us to the camping gear?
Sure, aisle 2.
Snowboarding? Just bought a new Nissan Pathfinder. It's got intelligent 4x4, and we want to hit the backcountry.
Aisle 18.
And the boats?
Are you sure you can do all this?
Up to 6,000 pounds towing, we're good to go. Oh, where's the scuba gear?
Return to rugged in the all-new 2022 Nissan Pathfinder. Available intelligent 4x4 cannot prevent collisions or provide enhanced traction in all conditions. Always monitor traffic and weather conditions. Towing capability varies by configuration. See Nissan Owner's Manual for proper use.
Is your home ready for a new look? Would you love to work with an interior designer but think it's unaffordable? I'm Susan Corvo of Susan Corvo Redesign, and with my unique approach to interior design, you can live in a beautiful, functional home. Whether you need a whole house renovation, a custom designed kitchen, or assistance just choosing paint colors and window treatments, I offer flexible plans that work for you, your budget, and timeline. A beautiful home starts with what you already have and love. Let me help you reimagine your world. Learn more at susancorvo.com.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
As you may have just heard, Susan Corvo Design here. We are joined by the owner of the company, and she's here talking today, well, how she can help you from decorating, moving into a new home, creating outdoor spaces, and my goodness, undertaking kitchen renovations and bathroom renovations and so much more. Welcome back, Susan.
Thank you.
Great. So where else do you want to take it off with? I know we've kind of been back and forth with things. What do you want to focus on next for your listeners today?
So let's talk about when you're upsizing. A lot of people right now are moving out of the city and into a home in what they consider Connecticut, New Jersey, New York, somewhere where it's more than 800 square feet. And they're like, oh my God, what do I do? How do I move from my apartment into a large home? And how do I decorate it all at once? What do I do? And I always tell people how to eat an elephant one bite at a time. So I always say, look, when you're upsizing, take what you have. Even though if you're like, no, this is some old stuff I had in college and I don't want it, I'm like, take it. Because right now you just bought a home, you have a mortgage, and there's more to closing costs and everything else and things you have to do when you first move in, that take it. And think about when you're moving in, what rooms am I going to use the most? What do I need the most? Kitchen is number one. You need to set your kitchen up. You need a family room with the TV, and you need your bedrooms. I mean, that's like the number one priority. So take the furniture you have, knowing that it's not going to be there forever, but it's a something other than living out of a box. Pack up what you have, think about it, and then say, okay, where do I put all this furniture? And put it in those rooms you use the most. So, I have many customers that I've been working with that are moving out of the city and into Connecticut, and they're like, okay, well, I said, no, we'll take it. I know you don't love it and want it forever, but you have another guest bedroom. Let's use it there. And I have a couple that moved from a one-bedroom into a four-bedroom, and they're like, well, where do we? I said, we're bringing everything, and we'll have a guest room now set up, so when your parents want to come visit, we'll take your sofa, we'll get it cleaned, we'll put it here. You can get other pieces because they needed a huge dining table and stuff. I said, but let's take what you've got. If need be, it can go to the basement, and when you don't want it, or you can get rid of it when we can replace it. But when you're upsizing into a house, there's a lot you need that you don't realize. And I would say that old piece, just take it for now, and we'll replace it as time being, because you really want to be able to function. You want to be able to move in. Everybody needs home offices now. I'm like, look, take the desk you had, because you're going to wait 6 months for a desk. Everything's on back order. So it's kind of an interesting concept, and I'm like, it's not forever. It's just for the first 6 months until you get settled, and then we can have a plan as to what you're going to buy piece by piece.
Great advice here today. Once again, if you're just tuning in, just want to point out we're talking to Susan Corvo from Susan Corvo Design, and she's here today, obviously talking today to how she can help you in so many different ways. Visit her website. Don't forget, Susan Corvo. That's SusanCorvo.com. And now back to you, Susan. All right, so we got a lot to talk about today. What is next on your plate here?
So one of the things about unpacking also. So I always say to everyone, okay, you got all these boxes. Try to label. When you're packing, please label the box so you know at least what room it's going to go in. There's going to be boxes that you don't know what to do with when you're moving. Mm-hmm. Go put them in a staging area. So whether that be a bonus room, whether it be your dining room, you have one room in that house when you're moving in that you can put boxes where you're not sure what you're doing with them. So that you can, because people will live in the chaos and be like, oh my God, I can't do this. Well, you have to have a room that you stage with your boxes so that you can unpack things and think about them. Artwork all in one spot before you're ready to hang it up. Don't start making holes in your walls, because if it's just been painted, you don't want to put it up and be like, no, I hate this. Even when you are hanging pictures, it's important to remember they need to be your eye height, not up at the ceiling and not too low. But by staging, it gives you the ability to have everything in one place, not chaotic throughout the house, so that you can then say, okay, I've unpacked the certain rooms, not sure where the rest of this is going, but I can go back to work and I can get to this on nights and weekends. So it just makes it a little more organized. And as you're thinking about each room and thinking about its function, then you can say, oh, okay, now I know where I'm going to put that.
Got it. Good to know. Awesome. And still continuing here on the trend of moving into this home and the things we have to do, whether it's a smaller home, a bigger home. What about, would you say, someone moving into a new home? What might you have to do in a new home, say, versus if you were just redoing a room? Is there anything really different?
So not really. It's the same thought process. If you're moving into this new home because you're like, oh my God, now I have all new, I can do something I want, versus even redecorating a single room, think about it one room at a time, but the whole plan. So, when it comes to moving in and say you want to do your master bedroom, if you already have furniture, great. Think of the color you want. Master bedrooms, should be soothing. You don't want necessarily a bold red that's going to keep you awake. You want some soothing colors, and think about the nightstands and the headboard and lamps, and an area rug so that it comes out on each side of the bed. So when you get up, you're not stepping on a cold floor. But it's really the same thought process. Anytime you're decorating a room, is you're starting from the floor going up, you're thinking about what the rug would look like, your bedding, the bed itself, your nightstands, if you have room for dressers, where does it make sense to put them, and where would they fit? And then even thinking about lighting, do you have any recessed light? A lot of older homes don't have any lightings in the room, any lights at all, recessed lights in the ceiling at all. You walk in and like, wow, it's pitch black. They usually have a switch that'll turn some lights on, but I always say then that means you need a lot of lamps because it's going to be a dark room, or we go ahead and put some recessed light in. Ooh. But if you're moving into a new home and you have the option before you actually move in to do some of the work, it's great because then you're not living through construction.
Got it. Another good point there today. Also, Susan, I know you are here, want to touch upon some other things today. My goodness. I wasn't sure, but I'm assuming then moving into the new home was just the topic for today and everything else is for further shows?
It could be or could be now. Doesn't matter.
No. Let's continue then on moving into new home theme. What other things that are important to a home buyer, to a home mover, when looking for a new space as well? Any other tips and suggestions you have?
So think about when you're moving into a new home. I always say to make a list of what are the ideal things you want. Does it have to have an attached or detached garage, And does it, what is the kitchen? And don't worry, if the kitchen isn't completely updated, that's something you can change. Think about, does it have the good bones, and does it have enough of a footprint that you don't, so adding on to a house is always expensive because you're adding on extra square footage. But if you can work within your square footage, that's great. So when you look at a home and say, well, the kitchen's kind of small, I kind of want more open feeling. Well, think about the fact that wall can probably come down and we can redo a kitchen and make it more an open concept. It's best to look at the bones and is the structure and the footprint the right thing. And then think about, do you need central air? If it's an older home, does it not have it? Is it easy to put in? Does it have a basement? Does it not have a basement? And then does it have an area for a mudroom? If you're moving with kids, where am I going to, think of like, okay, if I walk into this house, is there enough closet space? Do I have enough storage? Is the basement finishable? Is the ceiling tall enough where I can actually finish the basement for the kids and have somewhere for them to play as they get a little bit older? the dining room's great for the first probably 5 or 6 years, but then as they get older, you're going to want more space, and the basement's a great idea.
Right.
And those are all the things to think about, if you're moving up. And if you're downsizing, don't over-downsize. I have so many clients that call me, and they've moved from a 4, 5, 6,000 square foot house into like a 2,000 square foot condo, and they're miserable.
Yeah.
They're like, oh my God, this is too small. And I'm like, people think they want less. I always say, think about what you really need in your space. And, if you're going from 5 to 6,000, maybe go to 3,000. Don't cut it down to a third. Cut it maybe in half, or, take off 1,000, because you still have, then they're trying to cram all their stuff into it. And they're like, well, why won't it fit? I'm like, because you don't have the space.
Yeah.
The rooms aren't as big as what your house had. So, it's interesting because a lot of people think, oh, I want to go smaller, and they go too small. And I always say, I have a friend of mine who moved and went to a smaller house, and they sold it 5 years later and went back to a bigger house.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, it was just too small. And she's like, I didn't realize. I thought, oh yeah, we're ready for this. And she's like, but now all of a sudden we have grandkids and the house is packed.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Great. And Susan, would you mind also sharing a little bit about your personal background, what brought you here into this field?
Yeah, so about 8 years ago, I was in sales and director of sales, and I was just miserable. And I was like, God, I'd had more fun staying home painting and refinishing furniture than I did working, and having a sales team. That I was like, you know what? I worked with a life coach, spent about 1 year with her, and to figure out what my true passion was. And it was interesting. I had a chance to she gave me a homework assignment. I was designing a massage therapist's room and planning our national sales meeting. And I did both, and she's like, which one did you have more fun doing? I was like, oh, my God, the massage therapy room. Oh, I picked the colors. I did the artwork. We had this little, machine that was going to give the noise with the water. And I realized that my true calling and my passion is this, because my home is my castle. And I've always believed that, a beautiful home, everyone should have one, and you should have these, places where you want to sit in your home and relax. So I had made that transition 8 years ago and said, this is what I want to do. And it's not a job, it's my passion.
Got it. Oh, wonderful. Well, it's exciting to have you here and really appreciate you joining us on the show and to enlighten us. Now, if someone does want to reach out for a consultation, how does the process work?
So I offer a free phone consultation to everybody. They can give me a call at 203-536-0712 to schedule that. And I usually take 30 minutes to talk about their project, and hear about what they've been thinking and what they want to do, so I can give them an idea of what it would entail. And they can reach out. I do consultations in person, and I have on my website are all different packages in terms of kitchens and baths and remodels or home design guides, full house, renovation to even full house decorating and saying, hey, I need everything. So all of that can be found on my website. I also did a segment on HGTV on designing spaces so that you can actually see that, and it talks about redesign and what I really believe in and taking what you have and love and using it, in your project. So that's also on the website to take a look at.
Great. Well, perfect. Thank you so much. And again, unfortunately, it's time to go. We're excited to have you back soon, and we're going to talk more about the other work you could do to help our listeners with from all those bathroom, kitchen renovations. I have questions as well. We all do. Outdoor spaces, which become so popular during COVID and the pandemic. People are like, can I redo the backyard? Hey, why not? I'm living here. And I'm here every day now. So there's a lot to talk about with you. And again, want to thank you for joining us today, for being here, and looking forward to the next time we speak.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. SusanCorvo.com. Reach out to her and have a great day. We'll talk again soon.